The ACC has voted to extend invitations to Cal, SMU, and Stanford. We told y'all we would not talk conference realignment because there's actual college football games being played unless we had real moves being made and the tectonic plates were actually shifting. We had teams moving conferences, and we do, so we're going to talk about it right now. What does it mean for college football? What does it mean for the ACC? What does it mean from a football perspective? We'll unpack that right now. Make sure, one, you are subscribed to this channel because we talk college football and only college football all year round, every single day. We're live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on the Hard Count on this platform. Also, follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at JD Pickell to stay up with when we're going live, what we're talking about, all that. So we appreciate you in advance for that. What this means to me for the ACC is relevance. It's relevance. Now, what level of relevance I think is still TBD, and we'll unpack that just a little bit here going forward. But you know when you go to the park and you're playing pickup, whatever sport it is, whether it's football or basketball or anything, you have to have a certain number of players to field a team. And you show up there, you need 5 guys, you got 3, they say, okay, we'll find 2 more. Maybe you can play with us. That's kind of what I think that the ACC just did. Hey, this is the way that college football is shifting. The Big 12 is adding more teams. The Big 10 is adding more teams. The SEC is adding more teams. If you want to stay relevant, you have to have the right quantity. Now, they added some quantity. They added Cal, SMU, and Stanford, and I'm sure there's, financial impact there, and that's a positive thing for them. But to what degree will that impact them on the football field and strengthening their conference? Not sure. Wasn't like you just added a couple of, perennial national title contenders on the gridiron, but even so, you added enough to stay relevant and to be in that conversation of the Power 4 conference, Power 5 conference, whatever it ends up being as the tectonic plates keep shifting. The other thing I think that's important to look at here is national reach of a conference at first was sort of viewed as like a feather in the cap. Like, hey, good for the Big Ten. They can get out to the West Coast, and they got schools in Ohio and Michigan. Like, good for the Big Ten. That's going to make the reach for their school overall pretty exciting and be a thing that we can watch now going forward, and who knows how it helps them on the recruiting trail. Whereas now I think it's more so a requirement. Like the Big 12 now has schools in Colorado, schools in Florida. You have you have the SEC that has now added more schools in Texas with A&M already, and now they added Texas and they got Oklahoma. Like, the reach of your conference previously was just a nice benefit to have. Now I think it's like you have to have that as the tectonic plates shift in college football. And so for the ACC to say we're going to have schools in Florida all the way out to California, good for them. They're keeping up here with the reach that I think is required to be relevant in college football. So that's a benefit for them. But when I'm looking at this thing as a whole, my first thought when I saw this headline break was this is the ACC getting some insurance. Now, I don't know if that's actually the case here. This is just the way that it feels to me. How much have we talked about Florida State not being happy? And then the subplot around that whole conversation is, well, if Florida State's leaving, Clemson's not staying. Can they find a way out of it? You know how I feel about that. I think there's a will, there's a way. Okay, is what I want to talk about when it comes to the ACC and Florida State and Clemson getting out of that. But even so, if they don't leave, if Florida State and Clemson do stay, you have a conference that I think is in an interesting position as the college football playoff expands and about the strength of the conference and how those schools trend. Like, a very, very fascinating to watch because you have 2 schools in Clemson and Florida State that could very well be in that national title conversation here for the next couple of years, based on who they have as the head coach, based on the way they've recruited. Like, those are 2 brands that could kind of lead this thing forward. But if they were to leave, you feel better because you've now stocked the cupboard a little bit more with SMU, Cal, and Stanford. I'm just curious how you would view that conference relevancy-wise if you were to lose a Florida State and a Clemson. So that's not the situation we're in right now, so I don't want to dive too deep down that rabbit hole. But I worry that the ACC would start to drift more and more towards how we talk about the Mountain West or the American Athletic Conference should they lose those 2 schools. So not a conversation right now, so we won't worry about that too much. And at this point in time, adding those schools, at the very least, you stock the cupboard and help protect yourself a little bit more. You're a little bit more equipped should that situation present itself. Bottom line, though, we still probably aren't done with this whole conference realignment situation. I think we probably still have more we're going to unpack within this. But we got college football games to be played. I don't think it's an accident. This thing snuck in right on the front end of week 1. It is what it is. Regardless, we're going to keep talking about college football. If there's more things that break that are concrete with schools moving conferences, we'll unpack it. Regardless, though, make sure you subscribe right here. College football, only college football, all year round. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.